Okay, let me say a couple things about language here. Comprehensible input. Everyone that has a language channel on YouTube is going to be talking about comprehensible input. That's an academic term that few people understand. I've read the paper myself, and I don't understand it well. I even asked ChatGPT, "Hey, what is comprehensible input?" And I don't think that ChatGPT understands it either. So, comprehensible input basically can be put like this: anything that you understand, like como está, je suis, uh, eco puede pasar, eco puede gawat. In anything that you can understand is going to be comprehensible input. But the problem of it is that that's just not how really things work. It's the incomprehensible input that is going to make you or break you. So if you in your native language, if you just talk like a 5-year-old your entire life, you could function, because 5-year-olds basically have had 5 years to learn. Well, 5 years and 9 months, because they start learning language. We start learning language in gestation. They basically had 5 years and 9 months to acquire language. And they're going to acquire 500 words of language about time they're 5 years old. And that's going to be 500 of the basic words of any language. And that's all that's that's all that's needed. That's all that's needed. So, this is how it goes. When someone is on here telling you about comprehensible input, that's nonsense. That is dependent upon so many variables that you cannot possibly quantify it. No one can tell you what comprehensible input is to you. That's the problem. That's the problem. And I'm going to say it again. Nobody can tell you what comprehensible input is to you. And the second thing of it is that you are always going to be able to speak a language. And then you are relying on the fact that most people who use one language can hear that language really well. They can hear it really well in all of its varieties, in all of its connotations, and all of its slangs, and all of its jergas, and all of its syntaxes. They can hear the language. And so you're resting your abilities on their abilities. Let me say it again. You're resting your ability, particularly to speak, upon their abilities. So when you're learning a language in isolation, which is what most people are doing, like if like French, I'm in Mexico, so basically French, I have to learn it in isolation. And YouTube, just because you hear something on YouTube, that's still learning it in isolation. You're not learning it from a living person, where that person can change their mind, that person can use tricks. You're talking about a set format. Like the person just says, "Comment allez-vous?" And you just say, "Très bien." I mean, it's basically phrase book YouTube style. So you're always going to be able to speak first, and then listening is going to lag. And the way to bridge that gap is do not say what you have not read. Do not say what you have not read. And that sounds counterintuitive because you're going to say, well, how many 2-year-olds can read, but yet they can process language? But 2-year-olds are not legally responsible for their actions. Adults are. So when an adult speaks, there are legal consequences. So an adult just can't be a parrot and repeat anything that he or she has heard. You must verify that what you heard can be spoken. I see people who violate that rule all the time. Like people that say this word, que pasa, and then they use the word highway. You know, like somebody traveling down the highway. Now, I can't say that word because I'm not Mexican. So I can't say it. It would be like me attempting to say the N word. Well, I can't say that because I don't have historical reference for it. Maybe at some point in time when I was immature, I thought that I had historical reference for it, but I don't. So you just can't say anything. That's what glossaries are for. That's what dictionaries are for. That's what literature is for. And one thing about Spanish and Portuguese, this is something that you really, really got to understand, is that Spanish and Portuguese come directly out of the literature. It comes directly out of the literature. There are very few neologisms in Spanish, Portuguese, and even in French. It's not unwieldy like English. Anything can be said in English. You know, some neologism will pop up in English like that, like a weed. And people will say it for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and then they'll forget it. Now, there are some things that in Spanish that do pop up, like que padre. Okay, que padre is a neologism, and it's going to fade. But I'm not going to walk up and down the street and say que padre, even though I know exactly what it means and what is being said. But I am not in the inner circle, so I can't say that. See? I'm not going to just walk up to anybody in Brazil and say, hey, Carter. I'm not going to just walk up to anyone and say that because I'm not in the inner circle. I'm not going to walk up to somebody in an English-speaking country and say just whatever might be being said, like, hey, bro, I don't say that because I'm not in the inner circle. So, comprehensible input is undefined. That's very important. It's undefined. It makes great YouTube videos. People can jump on YouTube and say, oh yeah, you need comprehensible input. And the reason they're telling you that is because it's meaningless. And so they know you're going to come back to the next video. And you got to come back to the next video because it's like them telling you that there's a unicorn or Sasquatches out there. Yeah, there's a unicorn or Sasquatches out there. I have one in my trophy collection. Watch my YouTube channel long enough and I'll show it to you. And if you haven't gotten a unicorn, if you haven't shot Sasquatch, that's because you're not doing it the way I told you. Comprehensible input is a ruse. Not that it is not excellent. And the guy who wrote the paper, I think in 1982, not that the guy who wrote the paper didn't have a really good concept of what he was saying, but he was saying something for himself. He was not saying something that is universal. Now, Chomsky and Daniel Everett, those two in linguistics have a chance of talking about something that could be universal. And even then, there's controversy. So if the very backbone of linguistics is controversial, that's got to tell you that comprehensible input, because it comes along later, that has to tell you that that's on shaky ground. So what's comprehensible input to you is not comprehensible input to me. And so if you are watching a video and I label it, this video is comprehensible input. Hey, vocês podem ver este vídeo porque este vídeo está input e comprehension. That's a ruse. That's why in Latin it's called ego intellexo. And intellexo isn't talking about the mind. It's the same thing as to harvest, that you go out and pick the letters out of the page. You pick the words out of the page. You seek the language yourself. You seek it out as it has meaning to you. See, as it has meaning to you. Not meaning to me, not meaning to some guy on the internet, but meaning to you. So it has to be comprehensible input to you. So you can watch 1,000 videos, all labeled comprehensible input, and you're still not going to get it. Now, when you find something that has meaning to you, no matter how it arises, and that usually arises trauma, comedy, and drama. Someone says something really funny and it catches you. You got it. You see a really dramatic scene and it really touches you and you can really relate to it. You got it. You get into an automobile accident or something like that and someone screams out, "Socorro." Then you know the difference between socorro and ayuda.